Deck Forge, where I craft commander decks. Today we're looking at Hashaton Scarab's Fist, a 2-mana 1/3 with whenever you discard a creature card, you may pay 2 and a blue. If you do, create a tap token that's a copy of that card, except it's a 4/4 black zombie. So from my perspective, we're going to need two types of cards here, looters and zombification targets. The looters will allow you to activate the ability, and then the zombification targets are going to be big splashy creatures that will have crazy enter the battlefield effects or just attack well. Right, let's start with the looters. Merfolk Looter is basic, bare bones, 2-mana 1/1 with tap, draw a card, then discard a card. Exactly what we want. Likeness Looter is the same effect on a flying creature with pay X. Likeness Looter becomes a copy of target creature in your graveyard with mana value X, except it has flying and this ability, activate only as a sorcery. So Hashaton won't do anything to the cards you discard, they just end up in the graveyard. This allows Likeness Looter to become copies of them if you've got the mana to do so. Really cool effect. Psychic Frog is a 2-mana 1/2 with whenever it deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, draw a card. Discard a card, put 1/1 counter on Psychic Frog, and exile 3 cards from your graveyard. Psychic Frog gains flying until end of turn. This ability to discard multiple cards in a turn will allow you to reanimate as many as you have mana to do. Then we've got Ghostly Pilferer, another card with a discard outlet that's repeatable. It's also got a few other little abilities on it. Whenever Ghostly Pilferer becomes untapped, you may pay 2 mana if you do draw a card. Whenever an opponent casts a spell from anywhere other than their hand, draw a card. So anyone casting their commander or someone playing like an impulse draw type deck will activate this and draw you a load of cards. So great little 2-mana 2/1. Ret 2 Mystic is a thematic card which is at a worse rate than all the other loot effects, but I thought I'd stick it in because it's on theme, being that zombie wizard type deck. It's 2-mana 2/1 with flying, with each creature card in your hand has cycling, 1 and a blue. So for each card you're going to discard and zombify, you're talking about 5 mana rather than 3. It can get a bit rough, but I thought I'd stick it in just for the theme. Next up we've got Obsessive Stitcher, 3-mana 0/3 with the loot effect, but also 2 blue and a black, tap, sacrifice Obsessive Stitcher, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. This is getting you more value out of your graveyard, more effects that you can pull from your graveyard to add even more value out of the cards you're discarding. Next up we're looking at cards that can maybe dodge a board wipe, because these little looters won't last too long, I imagine, on the board, being the crux of the deck, being able to keep the deck rolling. You're going to need something that won't get exploded by a Wrath of God. So Underworld Cookbook is a 1-mana artifact with tap, discard a card, create a food token. So not the best value because you're making a food, not drawing a card, but you never know when that food might come in handy. Next, it's got pay for, tap, sacrifice Underworld Cookbook, and return target creature from your graveyard to your hand. So once again, more recursion for those creatures that are ending up in your graveyard. Then we've got Matzalantli, the Great Door. It's a 3-mana legendary artifact with tap, draw, then discard. Pay 4 mana, tap, transform Matzalantli, the Great Door. Activate only if there are 4 or more permanent types among cards in your graveyard. You might struggle to activate this ability, considering we mostly have creatures and artifacts, but if you were to do that, it turns into a land, which allows you to add an amount of mana equal to the number of permanents in your graveyard, which can really ramp out the strategy and make it a bit more explosive. Tortured Existence is probably by far and away the best card in the deck. It's a 1-mana enchantment with pay a black, choose and discard a creature card, return target creature card from your graveyard. This will allow you to cycle 2 creature cards over and over again from your graveyard, getting even more value as you make more and more tokens. Then I've got Spell Looters, which are a bit more explosive effect. Tolarian Winds and Windfall allow you to discard your hand and then draw cards equal to the cards discarded this way. This will allow you to reanimate multiple creatures in one big splashy spell. Frantic Search is another loot effect, but it's basically free, right? So you pay the 3 mana, you draw 2 cards, you discard 2 cards, but then you untap 3 lands. And then those 3 lands can then pay to activate Hashaton's ability. Really strong there. Then I've got a section which kind of sits in the middle between looting effects / discard effects and creatures you want to zombify. Raffine, Scheming Seer is a 3 mana 1/4 with flying and ward 1. Whenever you attack, target attacking creature connives X, where X is the number of attacking creatures. This allows you to draw X cards and discard X cards, putting a 1/1 counter for each non-land card put into the graveyard. This is a big splashy, draw lots of cards, discard loads of cards, and then potentially reanimate loads of cards, right? Varina is very similar in its effect. Whenever you attack with 1 or more zombies, draw that many cards, then discard that many cards, you gain that much life. Once again, big splashy, draw lots, discard lots. It also has the ability to exile cards from your graveyard to make more zombies. This will come in handy later on when we get into the zombie synergies. So both Raffine and Varina work really well with Dream Trawler. Dream Trawler is a flying lifelink creature with whenever you draw a card, Dream Trawler gets +1 power until end of turn. Whenever Dream Trawler attacks, draw a card. It also has the ability to discard a card to give it hexproof and to tap it, so that protects it a bit, but it also has repeatable discard effects to allow you to reanimate as many cards as you want, right? So imagine a scenario, you have Varina, Dream Trawler, and a couple other zombies that you've reanimated. You attack, you draw 4, you discard 4, you draw off Dream Trawler, you've already drawn for the turn. That's +6 power on a 4/4 body with flying and lifelink. You're attacking with a 10/4 flying lifelink. Really, really strong ability there. Great synergies between those two. And then we get on to what I sort of base the deck around. These crazy, crazy token doubling and tripling effects. Mondrak, Glory Dominus. If 1 or more tokens would be created under your control, twice that many tokens are created instead. Urge Attack. If 1 or more creature tokens would be created under your control, 3 times that many of those tokens are created instead. So I'm sure you can imagine how powerful this will end up being with some of the targets we're going to reanimate. Let's get into some of those now. The top end for me is Archon of Cruelty. Archon of Cruelty says, whenever Archon of Cruelty enters the battlefield or attacks, target opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker, discards a card, and loses 3 life. You draw a card and gain 3 life. So with Urge Attack, you're going to make 3 of those. That'll allow you to spread that effect around the board, or nail 1 person. Absolutely phenomenal in this deck. Next up is Hoarding Broodlord, a great toolbox card that allows you to search for any card in your deck. This is great for saving your board or countering an awkward spell at a time of need. Bear in mind, Hashaton's ability can be activated at instant speed, so you can put this on the battlefield as and when you please, responding to a spell, go and search for a protection spell, protect your board from a board wipe. Really, really spicy tech in this. Then we've got Serra's Emissary, a 7/7 angel with flying. When it enters the battlefield, choose a card type. You and creatures you control have protection from the chosen card type. So, on its own, you'd probably choose creatures to allow you to attack and not be blocked, but also not take any damage from creatures. Really, really strong reanimate target there. Then Peregrine Drake is one of my favourite cards. Goes infinite with basically anything that flickers. But this way, we're going to discard it, pay 3, make a copy, untap 5 lands. With something like Torture's Existence, this will allow you to recycle this Peregrine Drake ability, gaining you so much value, so much mana. Consecrated Sphinx is a commander staple. Whenever an opponent draws a card, you may draw 2 cards. So this will just make sure your hand is stocked with big fatties that you can discard. Really great to keep the deck ticking. Valgavoth, Terra Eater, is just a wall of text that works with itself and does really cool stuff. It's legendary, so it doesn't work too well with the token doubling effects, but really, really strong on its own behalf, and I thought I'd give it a test, just to see if it works. Then Archfiend of Ifnir is a very oppressive card. It aligns with the strategy really well. Whenever you cycle or discard another card, put a -1/-1 counter on each creature your opponents control. It also has the ability to cycle itself, so it can activate Hashaton's ability without having a looter on board. Really strong. We've got another one of those effects here with Angel of the Ruins. Plane cycling for 2, so once again can activate Hashaton without needing a looting effect. Whenever it enters, exile up to 2 target artifacts and or enchantments. This is just great removal on a body that you can cycle around and around and around. Really, really good. Shadowgrange Archfiend is cool because it's got Madness. Madness works really well with this effect. It says, When it enters the battlefield, each opponent sacrifices a creature with the greatest power among creatures they control. You gain life equal to the greatest power among creatures sacrificed this way. So you're going to pay 3 mana to make a zombie token of it. Then as you discard it, you can pay 3 mana and 8 life to be able to play it, which will mean your opponents will have to sacrifice the 2 biggest things they have, and you'll gain a load of life too. So as I sort of spoke about earlier, we're going to add some zombie synergies here, because everything is going to be a zombie basically once it's become a zombie token. So on Wings of Gold is from the new precon, really cool card. It says creatures you control that are zombies and or tokens get +1/+1 and have flying. Really, really cool ability to give all of our zombies evasion and pump them up a little bit. There's also, whenever one or more cards leave your graveyard, create a 1/1 white zombie creature token. So with effects like Tortured Existence, where we're cycling those creatures in and out of our graveyard, we'll be making 2/2 flying zombies with this on the board. Really great. Why not? Renewed Solidarity works in line with the token doubling effects. As this enchantment enters, choose a creature type, zombies. Creatures you control of the chosen type get +1 power. At the beginning of your end step, for each token you control of the chosen type that entered this turn, create a token that's a copy of it. So there you go. You have your Mondrag, Ojatak, magic Christmas land time. You go, I double this, I triple this, end of turn, I'll double that. You're making a ludicrous amount of tokens and absolutely swarming the board with 4/4 crazy creatures. Super cool. Then we've got Temet Naktamun's Will, the face commander of the Eternal Might precon. Vigilance Menace. Whenever you attack, draw, then discard a card. So looting on attack, great. Whenever you draw a card, zombies you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. So each turn, him on his own, you're talking draw for turn, draw on attack. Never mind all the other abilities that allow us to draw and discard cards. This is a really great finisher in the deck that allows you to pump up your entire board to be absolutely huge. And then you throw in the flying and nobody's going to be able to stop you. There's a few other synergies that I've chucked in as well. Grimoire of the Dead, it's a great little artifact. So it says, pay 1, tap, discard a card. Put a study counter on Grimoire of the Dead. Then you can tap, remove 3 study counters from Grimoire of the Dead and sacrifice it. Put all creature cards from all graveyards onto the battlefield under your control. They're black zombies in addition to their other types in colours. So this will add another extra zombie synergy they'll all sort of intersect, right? It'll reanimate zombie versions of all the creatures in all graveyards, which will then, it'll buff Farina and Temet and on Wings of Gold. Everything's going to trigger off this, whereas Rise of the Dark Realms obviously is very similar to this card, is probably much better. It's got a higher mana investment, but as you cast it, it happens, right? This is going to take you 3 to 4 turns to activate this ability. Next we have Amulet of Vigor, a 1 mana artifact with whenever a permanent enters the battlefield tapped and under your control, untap it. This will just allow you to have untapped zombies rather than tapped zombies. It's almost certainly better in other deck strategies, but I figured I'd give it a go as something that you can search off Urza Saga or just play cheap and see how it works. Then there's Saw in Half, a really cool card that will take advantage of those strong ETB effects. Saw in Half a Peregrine Drake, get effectively 10 mana. Saw in Half a Hoarding Broodlord, which is what it's generally used for, to search for 2 more cards. Really strong. Really strong. So as I alluded to earlier with the Hoarding Broodlord strat, you need to run some protection in this deck as you're running a very heavy creature-based strategy. Teferi's Protection is by far and away the best of these. Then you've got Flawless Maneuver, and a funny little one is And They Shall Know No Fear. So Teferi's Protection is the gold standard, pretty simple. Flawless Maneuver will be free most of the time as the deck only really runs with the commander out, so you will almost certainly have that activated. And then And They Shall Know Fear is a cool little tribal type protection spell for 2 mana that came from the 40k precons. Then obviously we're in Esper, so we're going to need to run some removal and interaction. Blue obviously being one of the strongest colours, this gives you the ability to run counter spells. So counterspell, Fierce Guardianship, will have that commander ability activated most of the time, and then white for the exile creatures, Source of Plowshares. Great card. Then Despark, Anguish Unmaking, and Voidrend will get rid of any tricky permanents that are on the battlefield. We'll look at some noteworthy lands now. Cephalid Colosseum is a big loot effect, allows you to draw 3 and discard 3 only if there's 7 or more things in your graveyard. And Spymaster's Vault, if you've got the mana, will allow you to rebuild the board with a big draw and discard effect. Next there's Accursed Juneyard, which came in the pre-con, which lets you regenerate one of your zombies that you need to keep around. And also Gaia Reach Sanitarium, which just adds some redundancy for that looting effect. You know, post board wipe you might still want to activate, but not have any looters available, so that can keep you going. Great, thank you for watching. I hope you learned something or picked up some cool little text that I've added here. Let me know if there's anything you'd change or anything else you'd add.